Now, I've had a few requests in my comment section for this video, the best wildcard draft ahead of Game Week 9 in. Here's what I think that team should look like. Alright, those regular watchers of my channel are probably getting a little bit bored with me showing this data, but what we've got here is from Solio. It's a projection model of clean sheet odds over the next 10 game weeks. So this is basically up until you get your next wild card and all the chips reset. So I think this is, you know, as far in advance as you can realistically look in FPL right now. Top team is Arsenal. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that this wildcard team is going to have some Arsenal defenders. Shock. Man City, Liverpool up there, but I don't know. I don't necessarily back the Man City defence all that much, nor who's going to play for them. And the Liverpool defence, I don't think they've looked that good either. So I'm probably going to skip those teams. I don't mind the Newcastle defence. At St James's Park, I think Newcastle are really strong. But away from home, obviously they showed it against Brighton. They do tend to slip up sometimes. I do like the Chelsea defence. I think there are some tougher fixtures mixed in there. But certainly over the next 5 game weeks, they look really good. And then you've got Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. Obviously, Crystal Palace playing Arsenal in Game Week 9, which is a tough one. But then the fixtures get good. And Bournemouth, well, their clean sheet odds are good. And I think, well, from both teams, there are defenders that obviously have these decent clean sheet odds. But I think they also are going to get some defensive contribution points as well. So with all that in mind, this is what I've gone for. So we have gone for David Raya in goal with a defensive back three of Gabriel, Chalobah and Senesi. Now, when you see the final price tag of this team, everyone watching this video should be able to afford this team. But one of the areas where you could save some money is downgrading someone like Trevor Chalobah, as well as Gabriel. Gabriel could become timber if you really needed to save the cash. And Chalobah could become another sort of 4.5 million defender. But I think that's a really strong back four. There's also a debate as to whether you could start David Raya against Crystal Palace at home, or you single Arsenal defence with Gabriel and start Dubravka, who's got Wolves away. Obviously, Wolves look pretty toothless at the moment, so that's something you could consider. Yeah, I think Chalobah's clean sheet odds and fixtures look decent. Senesi, well, he's got Nottingham Forest at home up next, and he's hitting DEFCON basically every game. You've got Richards, Mukiele on your bench as well if you want to chop and change them. You can see there Mukiele's got Everton. So if you want to swap out Chalobah and Senesi for Richards and Mukiele, you can do that next week. Obviously, Arsenal have got Burnley. I just think the rotation works quite well. You probably guessed by the fact I've got Krupi Jr. on the bench, the formation that this team's going to be. I just think of all of the cheap strikers in the game, Krupi Jr. is the best. You know, he's just come off the back of a brace in Game Week 8. And, you know, I'm not getting too carried away with that. I just think he's the best at that price point. And probably, you know, the meta demographic, best way of playing FPL right now, however you want to say it, is probably going with a 3-5-2 team or maybe a 4-4-2 on some weeks. I just think having two forwards is the way to go. So I've got two forwards in this team. It's not a shock to give that away. And Krupi Jr. is the bench option. So yeah, that's the defence and the bench. All right, into the midfield then. And we looked at Solio clean sheet odds. And I've got here, for defenders, I've got here Solio expected points data for midfielders. Now, there's a few names in here that don't make the team, namely Salah. He's really high on the projections still, but I just don't back it. I haven't seen enough from him. I haven't seen enough from Liverpool yet to convince me that he's one to go for in FPL. So I've not picked him. I think Saka is probably the best midfielder outside of Salah. You know, there may be a chance that Salah scores more points than Saka, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's a best captain necessarily every week. And I don't think he's worth the 4.4 million extra. Alongside him, I've got Bruno Fernandes is on the list. Njai, Gakpo, Semenyo, Szoboszlai. Can I really back Szoboszlai? Not so much. And then you got Ismail Assar. Another player that could potentially be in contention for making this team is Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea. He's, well, an injured out for the Champions League game midweek. He obviously completely missed the Chelsea squad for Game Week 8. Yeah, jury's out for me on whether he's fit and ready to go, but this Solio data here should give you an idea of the players that I like the look of. By the way, this whole team, I've picked it with both Solio and Fantasy Football Hub data. So the expected points data you see below the players is from Fantasy Football Hub. I've also chucked in some of the Solio projections as well. Personally, for me, I've been using both of these sources throughout the season to help me. Fantasy Football Hub for building my team, getting an AI rating, and their expected points models. It's just nice to look at Solio as well as another sort of option. So both are linked in the description below, and you can sign up to Fantasy Football Hub, link at the top of the description. 5 midfielders then, Bruno Fernandes, Saka, Semenyo, Njai and Ismail Assar. Now, I'm not all that confident about Ismail Assar ahead of place facing Arsenal. But when you're picking a wildcard team, you're doing so with a long-term vision of your team, right? You're not just doing it for one game week. So this team isn't absolutely optimized for Game Week 9, but neither should it be if it's a wildcard team, right? You're building this team until Game Week 19, maybe beyond, when you get your next wildcard, right? So I'd have that in mind when looking at your team. Yeah. I think this is probably the best midfield in the game, right? Bruno Fernandes, penalties, set pieces, confirmed on penalties by Amorim over the weekend. Set pieces, obviously goal threat, assist threat, and DEFCON points. Saka all the same. He scored 7 points in Game Week 8 despite not getting an attacking return. He hit DEFCON bonus points, kept a clean sheet, and he's probably Arsenal's best attacker. Semenyo, I mean, he started life as probably the best midfielder in the game this season. I don't need to say too much more. The jury is still out for me as to whether he's actually Bournemouth's penalty taker. He took the last one, but with Kluivert being back in the squad, yeah, we'll see if he takes the next one. Iliman Ndiaye, he is also a penalty taker for Everton. Alongside that, I just think he looks really, really good for Everton from open play. He doesn't necessarily get on the ball all that often. Grealish is kind of the main sort of ball-carrying threat. But whenever Ndiaye gets the ball, he looks really dangerous with it. And he's pretty handy for DEFCON as well. And I just think Ismaila Sarr at that price point, probably the best midfielder from non-penalty expected goals perspective and just general player. He looks really good. It's just that Arsenal fixture that lets him down, but at the same time, the fixtures long-term for Palace are really good. And obviously, they're a really good team, so that'd be my logic for picking midfield. You could, if you wanted to go for Enzo Fernandez over Ismaila Sarr, you could do that. But right now, we don't know if Enzo Fernandez is fit, so I can't exactly make a video with him in the team. We've used the same logic in terms of expected points for the forwards. And the order goes Haaland, João Pedro, Isak, Gyökeres, Mateta, right? That's your top 5. Personally, I think Haaland's obviously number 1. You're going to want him in your team and you're going to want to captain him. I don't think you'd be surprised at all to see Haaland in this wildcard team. But we've got Krupi Jr. on the bench. The question is, who is the other forward that we go for? And looking at this list, well, João Pedro, not been overly convinced by him in the last few game weeks. Isak's too expensive. Gyökeres, I've already got 3 Arsenal players. So that leads me to thinking about Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now, he scored 5 goals this season from 8 games so far, but he's actually amassed over 7.5 expected goals. So he's missed a load of big chances, but still managed to net 5 goals this season. A hat-trick, obviously, against Bournemouth. I'm not getting too carried away with things, I don't think. No, just based on the fact he scored a hat-trick. And I think he's going to take penalties for Crystal Palace too. So he's got all of these redeeming qualities and features. I just don't think João Pedro ticks those boxes. So I have gone for Jean-Philippe Mateta in this team alongside Haaland. The only thing with Mateta is, well, it's the same with Sarr as well, I suppose, is Arsenal in Game Week 9 and European football, and obviously the threat of Eddie Nketiah. Incorrectly said on my transfer plans video that obviously Edouard is the backup. That's not true. It's Eddie Nketiah now, isn't it? But at the same time, I still think Mateta is going to be the first choice striker for Crystal Palace. And the other player I could have gone for, João Pedro, also has the problem of European football, right? And I just think Mateta's better as an option. So yeah, starting 11, wildcard team, Game Week 9. This is what we're looking like. I'm very conscious I'm playing double Arsenal defence versus double Crystal Palace attack. That's one thing that I'm not too comfortable about. But at the same time, it's 1 week. And I think this is the best team in FPL. And if you really wanted to, you could swap out Raya for Dubravka and just have Gabriel facing the Crystal Palace attackers. I just think this is the best 11 if you're on your wildcard. Now then, some scores on the doors. This team, it gets a 100% AI rating according to Fantasy Football Hub. So this is basically the perfect FPL team according to the AI. And I picked this without looking really at the AI rating. I didn't pick it, wanting a 100% rating. I picked it because I thought it was the best wildcard team. Just so happens that Fantasy Football Hub have given us a 100% rating. Now, it's 101.4 million. Most people, I think, will have a lot of these players already and should be able to afford this team. But if you can't, if you're short of cash, a couple of easy ways you could find some money. First of all, you could drop Gabriel to Timber. That immediately saves you, I think, 0.5 million. I think both of them are going to play similar minutes, so it's not too bad of a downgrade to make. And then you could get rid of Chalobah as well. Tosin from Chelsea at 4.4 million. 0.7 million cheaper. His minutes probably not quite as secure. Or you could just go for any other decent 4.5 million defender in the game. The list, as long as your arm is to decent playing 4.5 million defenders. I think with the news of Jared Branthwaite having a hamstring injury complication, probably means that Michael Keane could be an option. I'm not necessarily suggesting that he's the best defender in the game or anything like that, but he could be an option. So yeah, I think this is a pretty solid wildcard team. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, please leave me a like rating on the video. Let me know in the comments if you'd make any changes to this team. I said I think this is the strongest you can get, but if you've got any suggestions, obviously I'd be interested to hear it in the comments. And yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. It should be just there on your screen. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.